What if one simple appointment could open the door to life, hope, and the gospel? Hi, I'm Rob West. For women facing an unplanned pregnancy, fear and uncertainty can feel overwhelming, but through the ministry of Preborn, pregnancy centers across the country are meeting women with compassion, practical help, and the hope of Christ. Today, Dan Steiner joins us to share how God is using this ministry to save babies and souls. And then we'll take your phone calls at 800-525-7000. This is Faith and Finance Live, biblical wisdom for your financial journey. Well, if you've been listening for a while, you know that each quarter we partner with ministries we believe are making a meaningful kingdom impact. Preborn is one of those ministries, and I'm so delighted to have the founder and president, Dan Steiner, with us today. Dan, delighted to have you on the broadcast.
Yeah, this is a joy. I sure appreciate all that Kingdom Advisors and FaithFi has done over the years, and now a partnership together. Awesome.
I know. We've been thrilled to get to this kickoff month here. And I want to go back and start with your story because many of our listeners may not be familiar with you. And I'd love for you just to talk for a moment about how the Lord first led you into this work.
Yeah, well, it was a direct result of my relationship with our chief executive officer, which isn't me, it's the Lord Jesus Christ. And came to Christ, get up 2 hours every morning, 4:30 and 6:30 to be with him, seek him. And during one of those times, I just said to the Lord, what can I do to repay what you've done for me? And he showed me during that time his broken heart over abortion. He sees every one of them. It says in Psalm 139, has held their days to plan for them before there was yet one of them. And I said, what can I do to alleviate your pain? And he showed me his broken heart over it. And so I said, what can I do to alleviate that? And that sent me on a journey into the pregnancy center movement, running a center in the Midwest, and then later forming Preborn, with the successful principles that we learned, which is fairly simple and is applicable, frankly, to all ministries. If you make Jesus the middle of it, everything else falls in place. And it's the greatest need that these women have, obviously, is Christ.
Oh, so good. Tell our listeners about Preborn and specifically how you work with pregnancy centers.
So we start pregnancy clinics in the highest abortion cities in America. And so most of the abortions are done in Los Angeles, New York, Miami, Houston, Dallas, Chicago, the DMV area. And we're in all of those areas with our partner clinics. We start clinics in those. We started 2 in New York City, 1 in Bronx, 1 in Brooklyn last year. Where in some of those areas, there's more abortions than there are live births. And then we also provide ultrasound machines. We've placed nearly 200 of them so far this year, which is amazing. We provide for ultrasound scans for young women. We help provide the cost of the nurse giving the scan in our clinic providers across the country. We also find the women on the internet and send them into our pregnancy clinics. We provide leadership principles, all kinds of help to our over now nearly 300 of the best and biggest medical clinics, helping women hour by hour, day by day, choose life by meeting their baby on ultrasound. So that's pretty much what Preborn does with these clinics.
It's incredible work, Dan, and I want to lean into that idea of these ultrasounds because that's at the heart of the ministry. Why are these ultrasounds such an important part of reaching women in crisis?
Well, it's really because it works. The old adage that a picture is worth 1,000 words holds doubly true here. If a woman sees her baby on ultrasound, it doubles the likelihood, that she will choose life. If we try to talk her out of having an abortion and she's abortion-minded without showing her baby, maybe 40% of the time we're successful. But if she meets her baby for the first time, first baby picture actually, in utero, in herself, it doubles the likelihood to 80% of the time that she will choose life for her baby. And I can tell you, Rob, this is super powerful. As an example, there was a 13-year-old girl. I say 13 because she's just a kid, pregnant, in one of our clinics. And when she came in, she was very abortion-minded. She said, I'm too young to have a baby. Mom doesn't even know I'm pregnant. And when she saw that baby on ultrasound, she wept and chose life. And then we adopted it out. And so
incredible.
This makes all the difference.
Yeah, it sure does. Well, folks, we are so excited about our partnership with Preborn. I want to give you a chance to get involved. A gift of just $28 to Preborn funds a free ultrasound for a mom in crisis where she can see the heartbeat and lives are being saved. Go to faithfi.com/preborn. faithfi.com/preborn. Back with Dan Steiner right after this. Stick around. An ultrasound can save a life and reveal lasting hope. Great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance Live. I am so thrilled to introduce you to our new ministry sponsor for these next 3 months. We're partnering with the Ministry of Preborn as they engage with pregnancy centers across the country to see lives saved and people come to know Jesus. We're joined today by the founder and president of Preborn, Dan Steiner. And Dan, as we talk about this important work, you were sharing about ultrasounds and just how critical they are as a young mom facing a crisis pregnancy now sees her baby on the screen, and now she is twice as likely to keep that baby, and that is just incredible. But there's another piece of this mission where you're not only seeing lives saved, but you're seeing souls saved. Why has that been such a central part of this mission from day one?
Well, we say here at Preborn, saving lives for earth and eternity. And think about it for a second, Rob. If that mother chooses life, but she does not become a Christian, does not choose Christ, the baby is born, grows up to be an adult, and that baby, that person then does not choose Christ, and they both end up alienated from God forever. What have we done? It's not the end game. The end game must include the most important thing on earth, the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm an evangelist by passion and practice. Preborn is our highest value. Romans 1:16 is our mission scripture. We're not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. It's the power of God unto salvation. We need the power of God in our ministry. And so that's why we have the gospel centristic in our ministry. And we had a young couple come in. The boyfriend was pushing her to abort, Rob. And so after we talked to her for a few minutes, we had him come back into the counseling room as well. And the counselor talked to him for a little bit as to why he was so adamant about aborting. And he said, my father was a drunk and had a horrible temper, and I've got a worse temper than him, and I don't want to bring a baby into this environment. And so the counselor put a little fetal model about the size of a 12-week baby in, which is what his girlfriend was at that time, pregnant, and put it in his hand and said, "This is the size of your son or daughter right now in your girlfriend."
Wow.
And he looked at that in his hand for a few minutes and started to tear up. He said, "I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I can't bring a child into this, but I know it's wrong." Anyway, long story short, after a 45-minute session, she introduced him to the one who could heal his past hurts and give him hope for the future, the King of Glory, the great heart surgeon, Jesus Christ. Wow. They both accepted Christ as their Lord and Savior. They both chose life for that baby. And so this is why it's super important for us. Preborn has seen over 100,000 women choose Christ over our 20-year run. We've seen over 4,500 women choose Christ so far this year, 2026, and we've just begun. It's the most important thing that a woman can have when she comes into our clinic because it gives her a new worldview, a new decision-making matrix as well.
Folks, every gift of $28 to Preborn funds a free ultrasound for a mom in crisis, which not only allows her to see her baby, but then these conversations that Dan just described begin to happen. You can be a part of this when you make a gift at faithfi.com/preborn, or you can dial pound 250, and then when the person comes on, just give them the keyword baby. That's pound 250, the keyword baby. Dan, you mentioned the number of salvations that you've seen over this incredible 20-year run. Let's talk about what the Lord has allowed you to experience in terms of the number of babies that have been saved. Give us some sense of what God has done here.
Yeah, well, so we're hoping to end the year this year by seeing that the Lord gives us over 500,000 moms and babies that chose life over abortion. And so we're in the high 400,000s right now, and we're praying over 470,000 babies have been saved. We're praying that we reach 500,000 before the year's up, and 114,000 commitments to Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. And so this is critical. This $28 gift you talked about, Rob, helps underwrite an ultrasound. We'll also send them a picture of a baby whose life has been saved in the story of a mom. This is an ultrasound picture, like the one that they sponsored. Some people actually even sponsor a machine for $15,000. And all of this is tax deductible as well.
Yes. That's great. Dan, the abortion landscape has changed dramatically in recent years. I'd love for you to give our listeners a sense of what you're seeing on the front lines today.
Thank you for asking that. It has changed dramatically. In the fall of Roe versus Wade a few years ago, we had hoped that it would final abortion, but in fact, it got worse. The year after Roe versus Wade fell, there were 80,000 more abortions. And the year after that, 100,000 more. And last year, 2025, was the highest year in the last 10 years for abortion. Why is that? It's because of chemical abortions. Women getting their abortion pills, chemical abortion pills, are finding their abortion appointments in an abortion-friendly state on the internet. And so Preborn is the only ministry that has the ability to stand up a telehealth operation in opposition to the abortion industrial complex that now has at least 68% of all abortions being chemical digital, the abortion pill found digitally online. And so the profile of the abortion cause space has entirely changed. And so Preborn is a technological ministry reaching these women every hour of every day, sending them to our call center where they'll talk to a nurse, make an appointment in one of our premium partner centers across the nation, one of our medical clinics, and helping them be introduced to their baby. And then we give them 3 years worth of help, maternity clothes and cribs and car seats and lots of diapers. So that they can, have the ability to choose life and empower them to do it.
Yes. You mentioned some of the ways you're responding to these new challenges. What else? Because you all are incredibly innovative as you watch this changing landscape and you're leaning into that. Give us a sense of some of the other ways you're responding to these new challenges.
So the country is bifurcated very deeply on this issue. No surprise to anyone, right? And there are states that, like Texas, that you cannot get an abortion. And so there are states like Massachusetts that market to women and send pills right into those abortion illegal states illegally, and they shield the doctors that send them. And so we try to intercept that abortion trafficking, women that are being made appointments. Like if you're in Texas, they often go to Colorado to get an abortion, and we're trying to intercept them, as well as being competitive on the internet with the abortion pill providers. And so every day we're trying to outfox the logarithms of Google and the internet to reach these women before they make the sad decision of taking this deadly chemical coat hanger of RU-46, which is a devastating thing on women.
Yes. Dan, just a few seconds left. You mentioned that $15,000 gift that buys an ultrasound machine. Tell us more about that, and where will that end up?
So every $28 gift for an ultrasound scan, every $15,000 gift for an ultrasound machine is tax deductible and is donor restricted to that specific purpose. We don't use it for our administrative costs. And that machine, Rob, lasts like 10 years, month in and year out, showing women their babies, 500 to 1,000 women a year. It's a fantastic way to make a lasting impact on the abortion cause. And so a lot of people choose to do that.
Amazing. Folks, as you live as a faithful steward, our hope and prayer is that you would see money as a tool for kingdom impact. And we're shining a light these 3 months, starting this month, on this incredible ministry of Preborn. A gift of just $28 helps provide an ultrasound for a woman facing an unplanned pregnancy to create the opportunity for both life and hope. Go to faithfi.com/preborn to make your $28 gift today. faithfi.com/preborn. Your calls are next. 800-525-7000. Stay with us.
The opinions offered during this program represent the personal or professional opinions of the participants, given for informational purposes only. Any information provided is not intended to replace advice from a financial, medical, legal, or other professional who understands your specific situation.
Thanks for joining us today on Faith and Finance Live. I'm Rob West. Well, in just a moment, we're going to begin taking your calls and questions. So now is the time to call. We've got some lines open and we're ready for you. That number, 800-525-7000. That's 800-525-7000. You can call right now. We're going to get to as many questions as we can today. Boy, what a treat to have Dan Steiner in the studio just a moment ago. Dan doing some incredible work. Perhaps this is the first time you're hearing about Preborn. And, you know, each quarter, and this happens to be a 2-month opportunity, but we'd like to shine a light throughout the year on incredible ministries doing amazing work in the name of Jesus, because we know that when you live as a steward and you order your finances appropriately, you're able to give. In fact, you lean into that opportunity that we are to be givers, that as a response to grace, we give generously, and there's joy that follows because we're able to participate in God's grand story. And in the case of Preborn, helping moms choose life. You know, more than 80% of the time when a mom who's considering abortion has the opportunity to see her baby on that ultrasound, she will choose life. And then they share the gospel with her, and then they follow her for 3 years with diapers and resources and helpful things that just make the difficult job of parenting. It's a blessing, but it can be challenging, especially if you're in a difficult season of life. But just those helps along the way can make all the difference in the world. So we've set this goal, 1,500 ultrasounds by August the 31st. It's going to happen $28 at a time. So if you'd like to make a gift today, 100% of your gift goes to these free ultrasounds. They handle all the administrative costs separately. Just head to faithfi.com/preborn. That's faithfi.com/preborn. We're going to head to the phones here in just a moment. First, in the news today, financial scams targeting older Americans continue to grow in both sophistication and cost. According to a new Kiplinger report, fraud losses among adults age 60 and older have quadrupled since 2020, fueled in part by AI and increasingly sophisticated impersonation schemes. Experts say today's scammers are less likely to make obvious spelling mistakes. You remember those. They don't use suspicious emails as much anymore. They're more likely to use realistic voices, convincing websites, and emotional manipulation to gain a victim's trust. One of the biggest changes is this use of AI. Criminals can now clone voices. So here's what might happen. They might grab a voice of, let's say, your grandchild off of Instagram, trace the family back to you, and then use an appeal from what seems to be your grandchild for money in a desperate situation that you recognize the voice to get you to take quick action. And that's as sophisticated as it comes. That's happening. They're also generating realistic emails. They're creating convincing video. Financial institutions are being impersonated better than ever, even government agencies. Romance scams remain among the most devastating because fraudsters spend weeks, in some cases months, building an online relationship before inventing a financial emergency or steering victims into fraudulent investment or cryptocurrency schemes. By the time money is requested, the emotional bond can feel very real. The more common warning signs are urgency. If somebody's asking you to act quick, get out of there. Secrecy, unusual payment requests. If they discourage you from talking with family members or ask you to pay with gift cards, that's a telltale sign. Or wire transfers, it's almost certainly a scam. So before sending money or sharing personal information, pause and verify independently. Hang up, call the company or agency using a phone number you find yourself. You navigate to their official website, get the phone number and call. Don't talk to somebody who called you. Maybe you need to involve a trusted family member or friend if something feels off. Those few minutes of verification can prevent a lifetime of regret. Proverbs 27 reminds us the prudent see danger and hide themselves, but the simple go on and suffer for it. So here's the bottom line. Wise stewardship includes protecting the resources God has entrusted to us. So slow down, verify before you trust. Remember that legitimate organizations won't pressure you. Also, just a quick reminder that the Social Security Administration, the IRS, they won't call you. They'll mail you first. first. So just know that that's the case. All right. I hope that helps. Let's go to Nicole in Pennsylvania, our first caller. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi
I'm
there.
calling because my husband wants me to homeschool our 3 young children, but we have about $18,000 in credit card debt and about $30,000 in student loans, and I'm struggling to find an income, so I feel like I might have to look for income outside the house. Would you say that a debt consolidation company might help, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the decision here. And it's obviously much bigger than a financial decision. It really is a family decision.
Sure.
So I think the first step for you and your husband is really to begin praying through this. Ephesians 5 reminds us, marriage is a partnership. Major decisions need to be made prayerfully and together. And, homeschooling can be a wonderful option. We've done that in the past. We didn't do it all the way through, but there was a season where we did in our family, if God is leading you in that direction. But that's not the only, I'll say, faithful way to educate children. Working outside the home to help meet your family's financial obligations can also be wise, but not the only way. So I think you're right to say, okay, since we're carrying this $50,000 in debt, we need to take a close look at that budget. We need to have a plan that allows us to start making meaningful progress. Maybe that's cutting expenses. Maybe it's increasing your husband's income. Maybe it's part-time or flexible work for you, and you come back to the homeschooling down the road. Or maybe it is we just get on a debt management program with Christian credit counselors, and because the interest rates have dropped and because you have enough cash flow, if you do, you go ahead and homeschool if that's the decision you come to, but you're headed in the right direction. I've got to take a quick break. I'd love to talk to you a bit more about this, Nicole, and get your thoughts on all that. So stay on the line. We'll talk a bit more off the air. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us today on Faith and Finance Live. I'm Rob West. We're taking your calls and questions today at 800-525-7000. We do have lines open, so whether you're thinking about debt repayment or investing, whatever's on your mind today, again, call right now, 800-525-7000. Before the break, we were talking to Nicole in Pennsylvania. Her husband would like to homeschool the kids. They have 3 children, but they're about $50,000 in debt. And Nicole is wondering if she needs to go to work outside the home to pay it off. And they're just wondering how they find that path forward. Nicole, give me your thoughts on what I shared before the break.
Yes, I think prayer is definitely one of the things that we've been doing the most. I think
good.
we do not see eye to eye when it comes to child care needs. And so my husband is against public education. That's what makes it challenging. He's even suggested for me to take out 401k or things like that. And I haven't been working, since the children were born for the last 5 years. Well, not true. I've had a small stipend from a nonprofit that I've worked for, but not a full-time income. So I haven't been able to even contribute to my 401k. So I don't really feel that that's necessary to take out. It's kind of like an emergency, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
I kind of wouldn't want to do that. But then now he's also considered his 401k to take out for things like this too. And I just don't. Those are things we just don't agree on.
Yeah, I totally get it. And I think, to your point, this is the approach you have taken. I think, if at all possible, we don't want to make any major irreversible decisions until we've really sought unity in any way possible. So I would just say at the very least, let's pause. I think a sign that you're going to have to take out long-term retirement assets to be able to fund this is a sign that perhaps this is not the right path forward. Does that mean you don't ever, if the Lord leads you to pull money out of a 401k, you wouldn't do that? Well, no, certainly not. I think, if you have a clear direction from the Lord, anything is on the table. But I think the extent to which we can find a path forward where, maybe we say, listen, we're going to take the next 24 months and we're going to, put the kids in school. And, I'm going to really work, and 100% of what I make is going toward the toward the debt payoff, so we don't have to touch our retirement accounts. We can get that to a more manageable place, and then I step into that. I think you also need to be, ready to bear that load and responsibility, because homeschooling, is not easy. Can be incredibly meaningful, and I think a lot of families do it and love it. So I'm certainly not against it. I'm a fan, but I also know that you've got to be ready to step into that and feel like, you're ready to and equipped to come alongside your kids in that way. But I think the big issue right now is just the condition of the finances and the fact that we're going to have to, violate some pretty sound financial principles here in order to make this work. And that's always a sign for me that maybe we need to stop, pause, think about this a bit more. Maybe you get a third party involved. I'd be happy to make a certified Christian financial counselor available, and maybe just, the three of you, without you being the one to do the finger pointing or him, just allow that third party to be the one to come in, help you analyze the numbers and look at what a path forward might be. That would be another place to go if your husband's willing to do that.
Definitely. Yes. Open to that, because I think public education is something he's very against. He's even willing to quit his job, and his job is the main income. So I think that's pretty rash, being that he's gained seniority. He's been there for the last 10 years. And so, I agree with your counsel. I would be open to talking with someone. I think he would be too, for sure.
Yeah. And I think the other option is to look at non-conventional models. So I mentioned that we did some homeschooling along the way. We also, the primary education for our kids was a hybrid model where, the kids were in school 2 days a week, home 3. I don't know if you have that option available to you, but that's where you could go to a Christian school because they're only in school a couple of days. It's a little less expensive. I realize that's adding more expense, so that may be problematic. But obviously, if you're working, full time, and maybe you have the ability to work from home those 3 days where the kids, are doing their own work kind of self-paced, but given to them by their teachers, they're just, in your home doing that. That was a wonderful option for us. So I think, perhaps the next step is to get creative and see if you can honor his concerns and yours with regard to the stewardship, with regard to, what you're willing to step into, and just recognizing that he has some real concerns about public education. Is there a path forward here that the Lord might provide that is a little non-conventional? I think at least it bears some time and consideration. So let's do this, Nicole. I'm going to ask you to hold the line, and I'm going to have my team get your information. We'll get a certified Christian financial counselor in touch with you, and let's just see if he's willing to meet with someone to get kind of a third-party lay of the land in terms of the picture of where you all find yourselves with emergency savings, with the debt you've accumulated, with the retirement savings that you have and might need in the future. I think even just seeing what you all would need to accumulate to just maintain your lifestyle at its current level in retirement, might cause him to say, well, wait a minute, not only do we need more, but pulling out is going to make us go backwards. And so, I think having clarity around the numbers and, where you're headed in the future and what that might mean for your need to save and pay down debt, I think often will, help you make decisions. So let's do this. Hang on the line. We'll get your information. We'll get somebody in touch with you. And if you both want to proceed, we'll cover the cost for it. Okay?
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Yeah,
absolutely. All right. Lord bless you. Thanks for calling today. By the way, I did mention Christian credit counselors as a great option. And when it comes to paying down credit card debt, especially when you've got debt more than $4,000, we were talking with Nicole about $50,000 worth of debt. Having a debt management program makes all the difference because you're going to get those interest rates down. You're going to make one level monthly payment that should fit into the budget, probably somewhere around 2.5% of the balance. But the key is it's a level payment. So it doesn't come down as the balance comes down. So you're sending a larger percentage every month. And you get that reduction in interest. So instead of paying an average of, let's say, 23%, which is typical, there's going to be down between 0 and 10. Also, the debt stays right where it is. It doesn't get, rolled into a new loan of some kind. And it really has worked for thousands of our listeners. We love the team at Christian Credit Counselors. As you might imagine by their name, they're all believers. They love serving God's people, and they truly see it as their ministry. And so perhaps that's you. You have some credit card debt. You'd like to get out of it once and for all. Just head to christiancreditcounselors.org, and they'd be delighted to tell you what would the interest rates be, what would the monthly payment be, analyze the debt, because it does vary depending on which creditor you're with, and then you can make a call as to whether that's the right decision for you. All right, we're going to head into our final break of the program. When we come back, we'll be taking more of your questions. We do have some lines open, so if you've got a question today, something you're wrestling with in your financial life related to maybe debt repayment, or maybe for you, it's are you on track for retirement, or what about Social Security? When's the right time to take it? Or maybe it's preparing the next steward. We just got the first draft done of our next field guide, Preparing the Next Steward, and it's all about the biblical model, but then the practical exercises of how you pass spiritual capital, financial capital, relational capital, and then financial capital. And we're really excited about it. It'll be out in the fall and hopefully help you think about preparing that next steward to manage what God has entrusted to them. Call right now with your questions, 800-525-7000. We'll be right back. Great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance Live. I'm Rob West. We're taking your calls and questions today at 800-525-7000. We're in our final segment, so this is the time to call. If you have a question, 800-525-7000. Let's go to Chicago and speak to Eric. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, hi. So my company offers both a 401k and an HSA, both through Fidelity. Till now, I've only always contributed to the 401k. I thought, why complicate things by managing two retirement accounts? And now with open enrollment coming up, I'm wondering if I should reconsider that. That is, am I losing a benefit by not diverting some of my 401k contribution into the HSA, or am I good just to stick with the 401k?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what are you doing for health insurance?
I have a company-sponsored health insurance through Cigna.
Okay. So they give you an option on an HSA or a PPO, and you get to choose. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the health savings account actually can be one of the best tax-advantaged accounts available anywhere, but you have to be eligible. So the fact that they make one available is great because you're going to have to be enrolled in what's called an HDHP, a high-deductible health plan. And then the benefits come in the form of, well, most notably, what they call a triple tax advantage. So here's how that works. The contributions go in tax deductible or pre-tax through payroll, just like your 401k. And then the money grows tax-free. But then as long as you pull the money out for qualified medical expenses, you don't ever pay the tax. So you get that triple advantage, the deduction on the front end, the tax-free growth, and then the tax-free withdrawals, so long as it's used for qualified medical expenses. The other benefit is, unlike what's called an FSA, a flexible spending account, the HSA money is yours. And so it's not a use it or lose it. The balance rolls over from year to year, and you can invest it. So once your balance reaches the provider's minimum, whoever is, handling the HSA for your employer, then many of them will let you invest in mutual funds or other investments. And then in retirement, you can use the money tax-free for qualified medical expenses throughout retirement. So even though you'd no longer have the high deductible health plan where you can make contributions, you can still pull the money out and use it for medical purposes. And, you're not going to have any penalties or taxes due. So it really is great. And then after 65, you can get the money out for non-medical purposes without any penalty. You'll just owe the ordinary income tax. So there's a lot of reasons to like this, Eric. I would just say, the downside is your family's medical situation and your financial situation. So if you expect high healthcare costs and you prefer that lower deductible and predictable copay when you go into the doctor, then this isn't the plan for you. But if you're relatively healthy and you could max this out and not use it for all intents and purposes and get it invested and use it alongside your 401k in retirement, it could be a great option.
You gave me a much better understanding of it. Thank you so much.
All right, Eric. We appreciate your call today, sir. God bless you. 800-525-7000 is the number to call. Let's head to Chicago. Gloria Jean, how can I help?
Hi. Yes, I was calling that because I have 3 friends that I think would benefit from the reverse mortgage process. However, they've heard so many different not so good reports from different people. They're kind of reluctant, but they're struggling, and they're single, and one just inherited a home from his mom from a trust, and that house needs some work on it as well. But I was wondering who in the Chicago area that I could refer them to.
Yeah. Well, a couple of thoughts here, Gloria Jean. I'd be happy to send you, so you may have heard on the program if you listen regularly, kind of our go-to guy on reverse mortgages is Harlan Akala. He leads the reverse team at Movement Mortgage and underwriter of this program, and he's just so knowledgeable. He literally wrote a book on home equity and reverse mortgages. So the first thing I can do is I'll send you 3 copies of that, one for each of your friends, just to pass that along as our gift to you. And perhaps just by leading with education, that might help them understand what these are. There are a lot of misconceptions about these products. Now, they're not right for everyone. Plenty of people, and I like this idea that you would get out of debt, stay out of debt in retirement, keep your expenses low, and own your home outright. I don't think there's anything wrong with that by any means. But there are others that say either A, I don't have enough saved and I'm sitting on a major asset and, I can't access it. And I really don't have enough, to maintain my lifestyle in retirement because I'm living on Social Security alone or something like that. And so, I'm right up to the edge every month. And this idea that you could get a monthly income stream or a line of credit against the house, and the house would continue to appreciate, you still own the home, but now you've got some pressure off because you've got access to a little bit more money. And then, when you pass away, normally your heirs, or if you leave it to a ministry, would sell the home anyway. And in this case, they would just pay whatever balance is owed, and then the remaining amount would be available for your heirs. But during their lifetime, now all of a sudden they had a monthly check, and maybe it's the game changer in terms of them being able to, cover their expenses and take a trip every now and then, something like that. So that's where I think these can be effective as tools. There's even more sophisticated uses of them as a part of a more comprehensive financial planning process as well. So let me get your name or have my team get your information and send you the books, one for each of your friends. And then if you want, they can also schedule a meeting for you with somebody who would just educate them. And maybe you do it all together. Maybe all 4 of you plus Harlan are on the phone, and he can do a Q&A session and a little education. And maybe that would help them at least understand what it is without the misconceptions. Now, maybe one or more of them would say, this isn't for me. Great. But at least they have the right information at that point. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but if you can make it 4 books, that would be great, so I can read along with them.
Okay, happy to.
I've tried to explain it all to them myself because they do understand the process. It's just that they heard so many different stories that they're not really trusting everything that I'm saying. So anyway.
Yeah, and that's not surprising. That's not surprising, Gloria Jean. And here's why. There's a lot of misinformation, but at the same time, the products from 10 and 20 years ago were far different than the home equity conversion mortgage today. And people lost their homes, and, when a spouse passed away, they had to move out. And there was things like that made these, less than favorable. That's not true of the FHA home equity conversion mortgage. Today's reverse mortgage is an entirely different product, and that may be some of what's got them hung up. So we'll get you those 4 books. We'll offer to get the 4 of you connected with Harlan, and we'll take it from there. Okay,
that'd be great.
All right, hold the line. Let's go to Karen in North Carolina. Go ahead.
Hi, I have my husband and I purchased a home 6 years ago for my son who was going through a divorce and his 3 kids. He's self-employed and had a hard time during the COVID period. has a little bit of the poverty mentality, has since been more stabilized, remarried, but has no credit and is wanting to purchase the home. His new wife has some resources. He's able to work somewhat. She's a holistic nutritionalist, and he is currently working, employed, self-employed. He's a contractor. We need financial counseling as to how to go about how do they get a loan for the house, or, he hasn't paid anything in 6 years.
Yeah.
And we're in our 80s. My husband just had a stroke.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I know how challenging this is. And you wanted to help, and you did a great thing by helping, but now we're kind of stuck in this situation here. Was there a discussion or anything put on paper with regard to the plan when you first did this? Did you talk about what his responsibility would be in terms of taking over the payments once he's able to?
The hope was that within 2-year period, he would take over the house and get a mortgage. However, COVID happened, and he didn't have the finances and didn't have enough work to, so we ended up paying even a lot of the electrical bill.
Okay, so he wouldn't dispute the fact that the intention was when he was ready, willing, or when he was able, that he was to take it over. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And they want to buy it, but they don't know how to proceed. He's thinking he should buy a truck and establish credit in that way. The bank said he should take out a credit card.
Yeah, I would agree with the bank. I think rather than taking on an expensive truck, let's keep their expenses as low as possible. Just by opening a credit card, whether it's secured or unsecured, just having a monthly recurring charge on there that's a budgeted item that he pays in full, that is in and of itself going to establish credit over time. So, I would, because he's on the same page with you about his desire to buy it, it really comes down to what can we do to get him ready to qualify, both from an income standpoint and a budget standpoint, as well as a credit return standpoint or credit report. He needs 2 years of self-employment income, tax returns, documentation of income, and then we got to get that credit score up. So let's have him open a credit card with a small recurring charge that he pays in full. There's also something called a credit builder loan that you could look into that would add an installment loan, but he's going to get all the money back eventually. It's just for the purpose of adding credit. Those are really probably the two best options to get him moving in the right direction. It might take some time, but it's worth a shot. Thanks for your call today. Big thanks to my team today, Tahira, Omar, Jim, and everybody here at Faith 5. We'll see you next time.